Hi and welcome back to another video with me, Philip Karahasan, for Therapy in London. Today we're going to do something slightly different. I received an email with a question in it. Hi Philip, I'm wondering if you could help me. I'm having trouble saying no to people. My job already runs me ragged, without everyone asking me for favours on top of that. I've always felt the need to say yes, even if I am physically unable to manage. Is there anything that I can do to get myself to start saying no? Thank you for your question. Obviously, you'll be kept anonymous. It might seem like almost a daft question. Why don't you just say no? Why don't you just say no? Why don't you just do it? But actually, why is it that some of us feel so unable to say no to people? They say jump and we say, okay, sure. They ask us to do something and we feel compelled to do it. We don't seem to have an option to say no. It's okay to say yes to people if you feel that you actually want to do it. What happens if you don't want to do something? What happens if you would rather do something else? What happens if you'd rather sit in and everyone wants you to go out, but yet you feel compelled to say yes? Your happiness gets substituted for theirs. The first thing we need to do is to go back and to look at the past, to look at our childhood, because the way that we relate to the world, the way that we see ourselves and the way that we act is based on what we were taught as children. So let's think back to the relationship we had with our parents, with our teachers, to our friends at school. So, for example, say our parents. Were you allowed to say no to your parents? Were you expected to do everything that they asked you to do, almost without hesitation, without being able to voice your opinion and to say, no, I don't want to do that? Not being able to say no to our parents growing up, it cements that way of connecting to people, almost that your needs aren't worthy of being met. If we were never allowed to say no to people, if we were never allowed to be ourselves and to actually ask for what we want, then that way of being, that always agreeing, always saying yes, is cemented into us. So we say yes to everyone, and it's easier, it's safer. And that's a really important point about being safe, because when we say yes to people, their needs are being met, so they're not going to shout at us, they're not going to show us any negativity. Whereas if we start saying no to people, there's a bit of tension in the air, there's a little bit of friction. And that friction is something that some people can live with. Some people can play with and dance with and use it to their advantage, and some people run from. And I would assume that you don't like friction. If you can't say no to people, and maybe it's that friction that we're trying to avoid. So we just say yes to everyone, but that friction is still there. And instead of it being between you and the person that you want to say no to, it just resides in you. You take on all that tension into yourself. So what happens to that? Where does that feeling go? It goes nowhere. It stays in you. You end up feeling angry, resentful, hurt, upset, but at least you don't have that tension with someone else. At least you fulfill your duty as a man, as a woman, as a boyfriend, as a girlfriend, or to go back as a student, as a child. You feel able to live in the world because that's the identity that you've always inhabited. It's safe, it's normal, it's comfortable. That safety is at a detriment because you're never going to have the relationships you want to. You're never going to be able to do what you want to do when anyone else is around because you feel compelled at all times to say yes. It's okay to say yes sometimes. It's okay to say yes if you want to say yes, but think about, actually, do I want this? Do I want to say yes? Okay, so say we found a situation and we don't want to say yes. What do we do? Because if you start saying no to everyone, no, you're going to feel really guilty. You're going to feel it's really dangerous. You're not going to know how to react. You might not feel able to stomach that tension because you've done such a good job at deferring it, at taking it in yourself for so long. And other people won't know how to react too because they're so used to you saying yes all the time. So when you start saying no, it's going to be a big change. So what would happen if you said no? How would you feel? Because this is the first step in actually taking a little bit of the power back. How would you feel? Even the thought of it might fill you with anxiety, might fill you with fear. You're not that sort of person, you might say to yourself, oh, it's easier just to say yes. But by saying no, you're starting to take a little bit of the power back. And by doing that, you're starting to gain control over your life. So what do we do? It's not just saying it, it's about feeling it, it's about embodying it, it's about realizing that your opinion, your judgment, and what you want is just as important as everyone else's. We spent so long creating those ways of living, that safety net of always saying yes. You can start slowly and build on it. Small steps. So for example, when that charity worker stops you in the street to get your details in order to sign you up to a newsletter or a mailing list, rather than saying yeah and stopping, maybe saying no, actually I'm not going to do that. It's those small steps, because those interactions have no emotional baggage towards them. So rather than saying no to the people that you spent so long saying yes to, maybe have that conversation. Maybe say, I know we said we do X, Y, and Z today, but I'd rather do A, B, C. It's not necessarily about saying no. It's about opening a dialogue. It's about having that conversation. Because if you just start saying no to people, they're going to think to themselves, what have I done wrong? This isn't the relationship I thought it was. You need to let them know that things aren't right and you're trying something new. You're trying to be happier in yourself. Collaborate, because your needs are not more important than theirs, in the same way that their needs are not more important than yours. It's about being equal. Remember, it's not about just saying no, it's about understanding how you relate to yourself, how you relate to the past, how you relate to you now, and working out a new way of relating to yourself and others in the future. One that brings about a more happier you, a you that can live with a little bit of tension. I hope I've answered your question. If anyone else has any other questions, please do email me. My contact details are down below. I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.